Welcome, everyone. Filing for bankruptcy a second time can feel, well, like you're trying to navigate a maze in the dark. So today, what we're going to do is turn on the lights. We're going to transform this whole complex and, let's be honest, stressful process into a super clear, understandable roadmap. We'll break down exactly what you can expect, step by step. Look, let's just get this out of the way first. Facing this for a second time, it can feel pretty overwhelming. I get it. But you know what they say? Knowledge is power. And just understanding the path ahead, that's your first and most important step to getting through it successfully. And that is exactly what we're here to do together today. All right, so let's jump right in. We've broken this whole thing down into 5 really clear sections. We'll start with, well, the starting point, then move to getting the process started, cover your duties and responsibilities, then the big one, navigating to discharge, and finally, we'll talk about completing the journey. Okay, so before we even get into the nitty-gritty of the timeline, you've got to know who the key players are. There are really 2 main parties you'll be interacting with throughout this whole journey. So player number 1 is the trustee. The easiest way to think of them is as the professional administrator of the whole process. They're your main point of contact, they're the one who deals with your creditors for you, and they're there to guide you through all of your duties. And then, kind of overseeing everything from above, is the OSB. That stands for the Office of the Superintendent of Bankruptcy. This is the federal government body. They're basically the official referee. Their job is to make sure the entire system is fair for everybody involved. All right, so we know the players. Now let's talk about the first few steps. How does this whole thing actually get started? Well, it officially kicks off with a really clear 4-step progression. Okay, so step 1, it all starts with an initial consultation, just to assess your financial situation. From there, you move on to a formal sign-up meeting with your trustee. And this is where things get real, because they immediately e-file your documents with the OSB. Now that filing date, it's super critical. That becomes the official start date for everything that follows. And the final step in this stage is that your creditors are all formally notified. So here's something you really need to understand. This is not a passive process where you just sit back and wait. Nope. Your active participation is required from the very beginning to the very end. Fulfilling your duties, it's not just a good idea. It is absolutely the key to a smooth and successful outcome. You can basically think of this as your to-do list for the whole process. And listen, these 4 duties are totally non-negotiable. You've got to attend 2 credit counseling sessions. You have to provide all the necessary tax info. You need to surrender any non-exempt assets and all your credit cards. And every single month, you have to provide proof of your income and your expenses. Okay, this brings us to the real core of the timeline, navigating your way to a discharge. This is it. This is the financial fresh start that everyone is working towards, and it all unfolds along a very specific timeline with some really key milestones. So for a second bankruptcy, you're looking at 3 critical review points. The first one could happen at 22 months. The next one is at 24 months. And if your duties aren't done, that timeline can stretch all the way out to a final review at 36 months. So the big question is, right, what determines which path you're on? Well, it really all comes down to the answer to one single question, and that is, do you have a surplus income obligation? So what's surplus income? It's basically a simple calculation based on your monthly income and your family size. The OSB sets a threshold, and if your income is above that line, you're required to make monthly payments into your bankruptcy. So, as you can probably guess, this creates 2 main paths. Path number 1, if you have no surplus income to pay, your big review milestone is at 22 months. Path number 2, if you do have surplus income, you'll make those payments for 21 months, and then your review milestone comes right at the 24-month mark. And this right here really shows you the direct link between doing your part and getting the result you want. It's simple. If you get to your review milestone and all your duties and payments are complete, boom, the trustee grants you an automatic discharge. That is the goal. But if anything is incomplete, the trustee has no choice but to oppose the discharge, and that's when things have to go to a court hearing to get sorted out. Now, there is one little in-between scenario to be aware of. Let's say you've done all your duties perfectly, but you've fallen behind on those surplus income payments. Well, before just jumping to court, the trustee actually has another option. They can apply for mediation, which is basically an attempt to sit down, work out a solution, and get those payments back on track. Okay, so you've done it. You've completed your duties, you've made it through the review, and you have received your discharge. So what happens now? Are we done? Well, for you, mostly yes. But the journey isn't quite over for the trustee. They still have a final set of administrative tasks to wrap everything up. So this is the final step in the whole process. The trustee takes all the money that was collected in your file, from surplus income, tax refunds, or selling any assets, and they distribute that money to your creditors. Once all that's paid out, the administration is officially closed. Done. All right, let's do a quick recap of the most important takeaways. Number 1, this journey has very clear, defined steps. Number 2, fulfilling your duties is not optional, it's absolutely mandatory. Number 3, that surplus income calculation is the key factor that determines your timeline. And finally, number 4, the goal, the big prize, is an automatic discharge, and you get that by completing all of your requirements. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with something to think about. We've talked about a lot of duties, and yes, they are all absolutely required. But take a second and ask yourself, which one of those duties might be the most critical, or maybe the biggest challenge, for you personally? Thinking about that ahead of time can really help you focus your energy and make sure you navigate your own journey as smoothly as possible.